She said the wedding would start at 4 p.m. on my front lawn. Yeah, my front lawn. I was standing in my driveway, coffee still warm in my hand, when I saw white folding chairs being unloaded like it was a damn movie set. Big flower arches, blush and ivory, the kind you see on Pinterest boards. A red carpet unrolling across my grass like royalty was about to step out of a carriage. Workers moving fast, confident like they had keys to the place. One guy actually looked at me and said, "Sir, can you move your car? The bride will arrive soon." I blinked at him. The bride. Before I could even process that sentence, here she comes. Not the bride, but Linda Harper. HOA president, clipboard tucked against her chest like a badge of authority, smile polished enough to blind you in direct sunlight. "You finally decided to show up," she said, glancing at my house like she was inspecting rental property. "We left notices." "What notices?" I asked. She held up a sheet of paper. "Community event approval. The board voted. Your property has the best lake view. It's for the neighborhood's benefit." I stared at the paper. My address was printed clean and bold. The signature at the bottom, not mine. "You scheduled a wedding at my house," I said slowly, feeling that tight burn creep up my chest without asking me. She gave this little sigh like I was the unreasonable one. "It's just one evening. Don't be dramatic." Behind her, strangers were already walking across my porch. Somebody plugged speakers into my outdoor outlet. A catering truck reversed into my driveway like they'd rented the place from Airbnb. "Stop this," I told her, keeping my voice even. "Now." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Or what you'll complain, the HOA owns shared aesthetic rights. Read your agreement. Here's the funny part, I bought this place 3 years ago. Cash. No mortgage, no shared land, no HOA dues. The previous owner made it crystal clear this house was not part of their little kingdom." "I'm not in your HOA, I said. She tilted her head. "Everyone here is." That's when I noticed something else, a small lockbox on my front gate. "You changed my gate lock?" I asked. "For event security," she replied casually. "We can't have random people walking in." "Random people, this is my house. If you try to ruin this wedding," she said, voice turning sharp, "I'll call the police and say you're harassing guests." Guests. On my land. Across the street, neighbors had gathered, some confused, some filming. You could feel that weird tension in the air, like the calm before a thunderstorm. Then a black SUV rolled up. The bride stepped out, smiling veil catching the breeze, posing in front of my porch like she'd rented a lakeside venue. Linda leaned toward me and whispered, "You should be proud. Your home is finally useful." That was the moment I saw it. 2 houses down, parked on the street, a big yellow machine sitting on a trailer. I'd scheduled demolition for Monday morning. Legal permit, county approved. I was tearing this old house down to build something new for my daughter. Linda didn't know that. And the demolition crew, they were early. I looked at her and said quietly, "You might want to move those chairs." She smirked. "You wouldn't dare." 3:12 p.m. My phone buzzed. Texts from the foreman were outside. "Ready when you are." For the first time that day, I smiled. "They're not your guests," I told her. "And this is not your land." Her smile flickered just a crack. Then we heard sirens in the distance. They got louder. Linda's grin came back full force. "You hear that I told you I don't play games." 2 police cruisers turned onto the street. Music cut off mid-song. Guests started whispering. The bride clutched her bouquet like it was a life raft. Linda marched straight to the officer. "Officer, this man is threatening to destroy a permitted community wedding. He's unstable. We need him removed." "Removed? From my own land?" The officer looked at me calmly. "Sir, is this your property?" "Yes, freehold. No HOA." Linda jumped in fast. "He's behind on dues. We have authority." I almost laughed. I'd never paid them a single dollar. "Ma'am," the officer said, "do you have proof this event was approved by the property owner?" She handed him the paper with my forged signature. He studied it, then looked at me. "Do you recognize this signature?" "No," I said, "but I recognize forgery." You could hear the collective inhale from the crowd. Then the ground trembled slightly. Everyone turned. The demolition truck rolled forward slowly, engine rumbling low and heavy. That big yellow claw glinting under the sun like it had somewhere important to be. "What is that?" Linda asked, voice thinner now. "My contractor," I said. "We start demolition today." "You can't. There's a wedding." "I didn't schedule one." The foreman stepped out. "You want us to wait?" The officer looked at me. "Demolition today." I pulled out the permit. County stamp. Today's date. Approved 2 weeks ago. Linda snatched it. "This is intimidation." The officer gently took it back. "Ma'am, this permit is valid." Music speakers were dead silent now. Guests backing away from the porch. The bride looked like she might faint. Then Linda hissed at me, "If you do this, I'll sue you for emotional damage." I leaned closer. "You scheduled a wedding on land you don't own." That's when she pulled her phone out. "Fine. I'll call the county inspector. This house isn't even safe. It should have been condemned. That stopped me cold. How would you know that I asked? She froze just half a second, then smiled again. Because I filed a complaint last month. And suddenly it clicked. The random safety inspection notice, the strange code violation, the anonymous complaint. It wasn't random. It was her. The officer looked at her. Did you file a report against this property? I did what was necessary for the community. The foreman checked his watch. We're on the clock. I looked at the half-built wedding. Guests caught in the middle of something they didn't understand. Then I said the one thing that drained the color from Linda's face. Start with the front porch. The engine roared louder. The bride screamed, "Dad, what's happening?" Heels sank into my grass as guests scrambled. The crew moved steady, professional, not rushed, not emotional. Linda ran toward the machine, arms waving. "Stop, this is reckless." The claw lifted, paused inches from my railing. The officer stepped between us. "Hold on. Nobody's tearing anything down until I understand this." "Fair enough." He turned to her. "Did you sign a rental agreement with this property owner?" "The HOA board approved it." "That's not what I asked." Silence. I pulled up my deed on my phone. County seal. Clear as day, no HOA attached. He read it carefully. "This property is not under your association." Murmurs spread like wildfire. One neighbor stepped forward. "Wait. If his house isn't in the HOA, what about ours?" "Stay out of this," Linda snapped. "Wrong move." The bride's father walked up to me. "Sir, we paid $10,000 to the HOA to rent this location." I looked at Linda slowly. "You charged them." "It was a community fee. For landscaping," I gestured around. "That landscaping is mine." "Ma'am?" the officer said, voice harder. "Now, did you collect money for property you don't control?" She didn't answer. That silence was louder than the engine. Then someone shouted, "She charged us for parking passes." Another voice. "We pay monthly dues for lake access. He owns the lakeside." Linda's face went pale. "Then she made a mistake. Arrest him before he damages evidence." The officer narrowed his eyes. "Evidence of what?" "Too late." I opened my phone again, security footage from the night before. Linda and two workers unlocking my gate. Installing that lockbox. Measuring my yard. Time-stamped. "You broke into my property," I said quietly. "On camera." "That's fake," she snapped. The foreman chimed in. "We were hired because the owner reported repeated trespassing." Then the supervisor car pulled up. And here's the twist she never saw coming. The supervisor stepped out, looked straight at me and said, "Mr. Carter, good to see you again." Her head snapped toward me. "You know him. He approved my demolition permit personally." The supervisor turned to her. "Ma'am, we've received multiple complaints about your HOA collecting unauthorized fees." The bride's father held up a receipt, payable to Linda Harper, not the HOA. Her, dead silence. I looked at her and said, calm as a summer lake, "You didn't just plan a wedding on the wrong land. You built your scam on the wrong man." Her hands started shaking. "This is a misunderstanding." Nobody was listening anymore. An officer stepped forward. "Ma'am, you're being detained for trespassing, fraud, and filing a false report." "You don't understand," she cried. "This neighborhood needs control." "Not like this," the supervisor said. The patrol car door shut. Final. And just like that, the power she'd wielded for years evaporated. The supervisor turned to the crowd. "Anyone who paid her directly should file a report. This HOA is under investigation." Neighbors who once nodded at her rules were staring like they were seeing her for the first time. 10 minutes later, the yard was clear. The bride's father approached me quietly. "We trusted the wrong person." "So did everyone else," I said. I raised my hand toward the foreman. The claw came down. Wood cracked. Porch collapsed in one clean strike. Dust rose into the afternoon air, not chaos, just closure. A neighbor walked up beside me. "Why didn't you stop it earlier?" "You knew." I looked at him and said, "Sometimes you don't stop corruption, you let it expose itself." Here's the thing I learned that day, and I didn't learn it young. People like Linda don't fall because someone yells at them. They fall because they get comfortable. Because they start believing their own authority is bigger than the law, bigger than decency, bigger than truth. Power without permission is just theft dressed up nice. By sunset, half the house was gone. The fake wedding was already trending online. County officials were auditing the HOA office. Lights off. And me, I wasn't celebrating. I was just standing in my yard, finally quiet again. I didn't serve this country to ask permission to stand on my own land. The next house I build here for my daughter, no one will ever mistake who owns it. Now here's what I keep thinking about. If I had let it slide, if I'd said, "It's just one evening," how many more people would she have taken advantage of? So tell me this. Where's the line between community rules and straight-up control? Between leadership and greed? Would you have stopped the wedding before it started? Or let karma show up right on time? Drop your thoughts below. I genuinely want to hear where you stand. And if you've ever dealt with someone who thought they owned what wasn't theirs, tell that story too. Because sometimes justice doesn't knock. Sometimes It arrives with a demolition crew.